Yo, what's up guys, this is Heavy Man, and today, this is gonna be a little bit of a different type of content. Well, not really. So, I'm gonna begin to maybe voice these videos if you guys like it or not. But yeah, this video, you read the title, it's about maybe if these removed weapons came back to the game itself, maybe it would look something like, fixed, maybe made better, I don't know. Removing them, I would see why, because people complained that we're a bit too overpowered. But maybe instead of removing them, we could refix them or make them again. So yeah, let's go into part 1. Part 1. Smart Bullet Bazooka. So the first one I'm going to start off with is the big boy Smart Bullet Bazooka. I'm calling it the Smart Bullet Bill because we all know it looks like a bullet bill. Now, let's just say this one, people hated this one big time. I pretty much know why. The homing missile is pretty annoying, but maybe we should change it a little bit. So, here's the new Bullet Bazooka. So let's begin, shall we? So here's the bullet bill, and now we're gonna make this thing better and bigger and stronger. First thing we're gonna do is put that legendary icon there, because yes. The next thing we're gonna do for this big boy is put the bleeding effect on it, because I think it works well. And I think the rocket, when you have that, what is it called? That module power up for the heavy, I think it does bleeding. I'm gonna go check after this recording. So this is after the recording. Yeah, let's see if this thing does bleeding. Yeah, okay. It's done. Yep, it's done. Alright. Doesn't do bleeding. Alright then, you know what? Die. Just die, you freaking dummy die. So it doesn't do bleeding. That doesn't mean it doesn't have to do bleeding on this thing. Next up is manual guidance, and I think it works for this instead of the homing missile, because the homing missiles is a bit annoying if you just shoot it and it just tracks you know what I mean? I think this is a better alternative. I mean, they already have it in the game, so yeah, I guess it's a better thing to use than homing missiles. And the last thing to add onto this big boy is the 4x zoom, because I think it has a scope, if I'm not wrong. And if I am wrong, please tell me in the comments below if I am or not. I would really want to know, so please. And here are the stats, which is the fire rate, captivity, and mobility, which is 65, 4, and 55. I think this would all work good, because if we were to look at the old one, which I think I should pull up now, here's a little side-by-side comparison of the new versus the old stats, which the old ones were weird back in the day. So it was 84 fire rate, captivity of 4, and mobility of 100, which in modern times would be 50, or I think, yeah, 55 or 50 today. So, yeah, pretty much not really that balanced, and it did have the homing missile. So, yeah. Also, instead of bleeding, it was area damage back in the day, and it was grade of legendary. So, yeah, I guess I got some of it correct. But, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer, well, not in the game, this is the old stats, or do you prefer the new one? Let me know in the comments, along with the other ones. Speaking of which, let's get into the second one of today's video. I think you might guess which one it is, but I'm gonna give you a second. Time's up! Sorry for bursting your eardrums, but it's actually the Part 2 Nanobots Rifle. The Nanobots Rifle! Yeah, this one. So yeah, the Nanobots Rifle. Let's get into it, shall we? So here's the Nanobots Rifle, and with the power of editing, there are all the stats for this big boy. The cluster mine will fit well with this one because back in the day, this had homing missiles, a little nanobite insect thingies. So I think it would work as well with this thing for it to be cluster mine. And certainly because I didn't read up on what this thing does. I mean, come on, who would read in a game they have to shoot in? I mean, come on, really? Connect detonator would be interesting. Having a ricochet, cluster mine would be hilarious, but also, it would also be a bit unique to see a cluster mine connect detonator. I mean, I don't know, would it be really overpowered? And finally, random effect, which basically, you know what that does. Give any effect, fire, bleeding, poison even, you know the gist of that. Here is the stats for the Nanobots Rifle. Fire rate is 64, captivity 6, and mobility 55. I think this is actually a little bit better. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be legendary, but come on now, let's be real. Would you really want this thing to be 75 mobility with a captivity 10? I highly doubt it. And here are the old stats versus the new ones. I think it's way better. I mean, yeah, there's bleeding and homing missiles again. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit better. The original fire rate was 76, captivity 6, and the mobility was 35. Damn. I guess now it's an upgrade that's 55, and now it's the same as 6, and 64 went down, but whatever. At least it's a bit more balanced. Honestly, this one was kind of a fluke. I mean, yeah, it all seems good and all, but I want to know what you guys think the Nanobots could have been if Pixagon decided to go, oh, I want to bring back this weapon, and yeah, just shoved it right back in there, gave it its actual gallery number, as it should be with the Smart Bullet Boy and the next and, well, most well-known move weapon. What do you guys think the stats and the effect could be? Put it down in the comments. Now, the piece of resistance. The final removed weapon. Part 3. The Judge. It's finally time to talk about the final and most well-known weapon. I'm pretty sure there's well-known other ones besides these main 3, but the Judge. This weapon, it was removed because of its own attribute that was so unique to the game that it broke the internet of it, which is Control Rocket. Many OGs of Pipsqueak, whenever they hear that Control Rocket thing, it sends spine shivers down when they realize of the Judge in its reign of terror with this thing. But even if this thing was spawned from the depths of hell of its judgment day, I think I can revise this thing. And, well, here it is. So here's the Judge. And, honestly, I think it would fit pretty well nowadays. And here are the stats. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. So, this is the, I guess, the same stats as before, but reworked a bit. I'm just gonna move on to the, well, the old and new stats. Wow, little to no difference here, am I right? So, as you can see, the old stats and the new stats are the same, but the old stats weren't balanced enough for the controllable rocket, and the balanced one is the rocket control for the new one. And, well, that's the main difference. Being the fire rate, captivity, and mobility. Being 58, 1, and 30. That's now 65, 3, and 40. Yeah. I think that's a bit of a, I guess you could say, I don't know, a good balance. I know this thing was overpowered, but we don't want it to be, like, underpowered. So I want to give it a little bit of a push. Anyway, about the whole rocket control balance thing, I think it could be a little bit more different, if you know what I'm saying. For example, I believe this thing could be the same as before, but a little bit, nerfed. I would say that, it has only 3 seconds to hit somebody, but it would only have to do it from the range of half the map. For example, split White House in half. The map, you have 2 halves of White House. That's how far it can go. Half the distance of White House. Well, half of White House is one side. You get what I mean, right? Half the map, basically. That's how far it can travel. I would say that's a bit balanced for, the Judge. Well, then you may say, what if I go in the middle of each map and just shoot it? Well, you'd only have to go from which side you're shooting it. You can turn around and try and go back the other way, but you'd only make it maybe 25% of the way. And there we go. That's the end of the video, my friends. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my explanations, if I can actually bring these guys back to life. And maybe this will become an actual series I can do. You guys can send me more weapons that I don't know that were removed, or some other weapons that are now in the game that are pretty old that I can fix. Either way, I'm down for a challenge. That's all, folks.